This term in geography, we have a really exciting topic and it's called Sensational Safari. And we're going to be focusing on the country of Kenya and finding out all about the country, its location, the wildlife, its climate and people. But today we're going to focus on understanding where Kenya is in the world in relation to us. So you're going to be able to locate it on a world map and then be able to tell someone some facts about the country. So the key words you're going to need for this lesson are Africa, continent, country, capital city. And remember, on a map, quite often the capital cities are marked with a large square or circle or triangle. Kenya, weather and climate, Nairobi, Indian Ocean, flag, equator, and atlas. So let's find out what you know already. Do you know which continent Kenya is in? Which continent? Can you write any two things you know about Africa? Anything at all? The wildlife, the languages, any of the oceans that surround it, neighbouring countries, continents. What do you think the climate and weather is like in Kenya? Think about what you might have seen on television, things you might have heard before. Is it hot, cold? And what animals do you think live in Kenya? Now, many years ago, when I was 19, I actually saved up lots of money and went on a safari for about 9 weeks in East Africa. And we travelled on a big old truck and we camped all the way across East Africa and had the most fantastic time. And it was an incredible 9 weeks. And we spent time in lots of different countries in Africa. But I did go to Kenya. And if you're really lucky, perhaps I will bore you later on in the term with some photos. And you can have a laugh at me, can't you? When I was 19. Anyway, moving on. What do you know already? Now, you might want to print this off, or you might just want to jot down or tell somebody things that you think you know already about Kenya or the continent of Africa, which of course is where Kenya is. Things that you might want to know, maybe about the language or the currency or the animals. And then at the end of the unit, we can think about what we've actually learnt. So where is Kenya? Well, there is our world map. And remember, if our globe was rolled out flat, that is what the world would look like. So let's have a look first of all. How many continents do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So those are our 7 continents of the world. And remember, continent is a very large landmass, and it sometimes includes islands as well. And within those big lumps of land, if you like, there's many different countries. So let's have a look. We are here, remember, Great Britain, about there, just under my little laser pointer. And we're part of Europe, all this area in green. This big lump is Asia. And we've got Africa here, Australia, or Australasia, as this area, including New Zealand, would be. The South Pole, which is enormous. Antarctica. South America, North America. And then we have this invisible line, the equator. So we can't actually see the equator. It's just an invisible line that's been drawn on it. Basically, is the centre between the North Pole and the South Pole, the centre of the world. And all the countries that lie on the equator are hotter than anywhere else. And do you know why this might be? That's right. Some of you might have got the answer, that we're actually in a more direct line from the sun. So they get hotter, much more direct line to the sun in those countries. But where is Kenya? Well, on our continent of Africa, there's actually 54 countries. So you can see where they've all been divided up. Some are much larger than others. You've got some little ones, haven't you, here? Here. Where do you think Kenya could be? Can you spot it? There we are. It's over on the east of the country, north, east, south, west, and it's just over here. And let's just have a think about what we can see just from this map. So we can see that it is surrounded by some other countries. How many can you see? How many bordering countries? Got Somalia, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania. And it's got a coastline. Okay. Now, I'm known for being a bit of a map nerd, and I know lots of you, well, no, especially the Robins, we all really enjoy looking at maps. There's nothing I like more than just sitting down with a good old atlas or a road map and having a look at different routes, different places, or looking at places I've been to. So why don't we, let's try and get rid of that. All right, let's have a look at a map of Africa. There we go, there's Africa. And I have put in directions from Weybridge to Nairobi in Kenya. Now, Nairobi is the capital city. And let's have a look at how we could possibly get there. Now, obviously, most people would fly, but also we could get a ferry across to France. We could drive all the way through France, through Spain, get a ferry across from Almeria to Morocco, Algeria, and drive all the way through this desert area, couldn't we? All the way down that way. We could also go another way. We went through here, through Germany, Australia, down here. We could go across to Turkey, through Syria, Iraq, and come through the top of Egypt and down that way. So perhaps have a look. Either if you've got an atlas at home, have a look in your atlas. Or if you haven't, just have a look on Google Maps and just have a little play around. Think about where the continent of Africa is in relation to other places. Because we're not actually that far from North Africa, are we? If we were to go to Morocco or Tunisia, some of you might even have been there. It's not that far. It's just below Spain. Anyway, let's get back to where we were. So here is more of a close-up of Kenya. So can you see the capital city? That's right, Nairobi, just here. And we know it's the capital because it's got the largest blob there, hasn't it? What else can we see here? We've got some rivers, haven't we? River Tana is the longest one. Mount Kenya. What can you spot in the north of the country? Up here. Oh, we've got some other cities, haven't we? Marsabit, Lodwar. We've also got this lake, Lake Turkana, which is quite large. However, it's not as large as Lake Victoria over here on the west. That's the largest lake in Africa. We've got various rivers. And then the ocean, the Indian Ocean, is the coastline for Kenya. So it's located in East Africa and it is known as the Republic of Kenya. Kenya's population is around 44 million. That's a lot of people. But Kenya is one small country compared to the vast size of the continent of Africa. So you imagine all those 54 countries, all with large populations. And this is Kenya's national flag. So we've got tricolor, 3 colours. What do you think that is in the middle of the flag? What does it look like? Yes, it's a shield, and it is a native Maasai shield. So the Maasai people, tribes people of Africa, have shields like that. Kenya. Nairobi is the capital city, and Mombasa is the largest city in Kenya. The Tana River is the longest river in Kenya, and Mount Kenya is the highest mountain. And the country itself was actually named after this mountain. So we're going to do a little bit of an atlas challenge. Either on your own or with an adult, you can complete this quick activity. So using an atlas, find a map of Africa. If you don't have an atlas, you can use a computer, go to Google Maps or something like that. And see how quickly you can answer these questions. So you might want to pause the video until you're ready, or get somebody to read these out for you. So can you find a capital city? Can you find Mombasa, Mount Kenya, or the Tana River? Can you find a city in the north of Kenya? And which cities can you see on the coast? Name an ocean near to Kenya and name 2 countries which border Kenya. And then have a look at all the countries in Africa. Have a little look, read through them, see if you recognise any of their names. So how did you do? How many questions did you answer? Well done, everybody. Passports, please. Imagine you are now going to book a holiday to Kenya. First, you need to get your tickets and passport ready. So what you're going to do, I've attached a PDF of this, so you can print this out. It's a passport to Kenya. You're going to colour each of the 7 continents on this map of the world, a different colour, and label them. Okay. Then you're going to draw in the equator. Think about which countries it passes through. So very carefully, you probably want to get a ruler for that one and look very carefully and see which countries it actually passes through and which ones are therefore very hot. Then you're going to label this map of Kenya. Now, this one has some clues for you. The start of each word has been put in for you. So, for example, this here would be the what ocean? The Indian Ocean. Okay. When you've done that, you can colour in the sea there. Now, remember how we do that? We don't need to scribble the whole thing. We can just get our pen. You'll do it hopefully much neater than me. And you can just do the edges like that in blue to show that you've got a sea or an ocean. Then you can colour and label your key down here. Okay. So when you've done that, we can quiz you again. See how much you remembered without peeking. So whereabouts in Africa is Kenya? How many other countries in Africa can you name? What is the capital of Kenya? What is Kenya named after? How many countries border Kenya? So how many surround it? How many are right next door? And can you name any other rivers, mountains, seas, or features? Well done, everybody.